We love horror movies from the 70s and 80s, and we watch them for 2 days straight, and then we go write a book. Now we're looking back at every title, one at a time, in this podcast that we put out monthly. Once we've had an episode for every movie, it's time to meet up for another Shock Marathon. Oh yeah, welcome to the ShockMarathons podcast. I'm your host, Matt Farley, here with Ava Scalzo.
Hello.
Charlie Roxburgh.
Greetings.
And Tom Scalzo.
Hey.
And we're here to discuss Death Stalk. Now, 1975, is that right, team?
Scalzo? 74.
74 on the case.
All right. Well, hey, we'll go with that.
IMDb says 75, but I like to go with the VHS box.
Made for TV.
The case says 74.
Made for TV. Never question the case. And brief. Oh, so wonderfully brief. You know?
Yeah.
2 hours on TV with commercials ends up being 1 hour and 12 minutes of actual movie. So
brief and well-paced. Those two things together are magic.
That's the other thing.
Oh, yeah.
They got to keep you hooked at every commercial break, and that makes for lots of intriguing moments where you just can't look away. Okay.
That's one way of putting it.
Yeah. All right. Death Stalk. It starts... a bunch of guys with dogs. They're running through the countryside. They're perhaps, are they searching for someone? And turns out, yes, they are.
Yes.
And this glorious music kicks in as we reveal the convicts. Okay.
Oh,
that's good stuff,
So
huh?
good.
That's
Pete Ruggalo. I think that's what I got from the credits. That guy deserves a lot of credit.
way to go, Pete Ruggalo. Great score. Every time that kicked in, I was like, yeah.
And let me ask you guys this. When you saw the convicts first running, was the overwhelming abundance of denim something that you appreciated or noticed?
It was a lot of denim, and like interesting choice. For prison mates. Like I
Yeah. That was like their uniform, I guess.
His pre-jumpsuit days, apparently. Yeah.
I guess.
It's a poor choice. The jumpsuits really stand out more.
Right.
If they were
They
to
look
be
like-
on the lam.
Yeah, they're wearing
Denim-
like
the
farmer
denim is not a
clothes
good choice.
in the farmland.
They blend right in with the country folk. So no time is wasted. It's very economic storytelling. We see searchers and dogs. We see convicts on the loose. And then we see some rafting couples. One of them jokes, "Thank you, mother," to his wife, who says, "I'm not your mother." Oh, those couples and their humor, huh?
It's quick. I mean, you got to pick up on stuff. There's not a lot of time for character development. That one, and then there's a couple lines from the other couple. It's not really wasted either.
Yeah,
it's kind of like here's how their relationship is.
Let's hear the other line.
Okay, if you do this in style, I'll buy you a new dress.
Yeah, make that a full outfit, and I'll be a real Joan of Arc.
And away we go.
Make that a
does
whole
that
outfit,
mean?
and I'll be a real
does that
Joan of
mean?
Arc. Like,
What
what?
does that mean? Of all people, she means I'll be like a great river rafter in that.
What does she
Joan
mean?
of
What?
Arc, known for her rafting skills.
Oh, they're so.
I mean, and we were just at the cathedral where like Joan of Arc was buried.
Yeah.
There was no
No mention
rapids.
of rafting.
But she also isn't known for being like stylish, right?
No,
I mean,
neither.
If you like chain metal, then yes. But
Yeah.
otherwise, no.
So
Nobody
strange.
raised their hand and was like, I just don't get this line here. Can I just, I mean, she could have said, I'll be like your pro rafting guide, or I don't know. That would make sense. But I like it. I mean, I like it. This was a time when
Should've
weird.
said Elizabeth Taylor. Like if she's gonna say anyone, it would have
Right,
should have been something
yeah.
like that.
Yeah.
Or Princess
Oh.
Grace, or something. It's really weird, but good. All right, back to the convicts, and they're kind of hunting around a shed area, a farmhouse and a shed, looking for a car maybe. And one of the convicts comes upon a baby playing with toys in the grass. He looks at the baby and seems to contemplate the direction that his own life has taken him in. Maybe I was reading too far into this. He was once carefree like this little boy. But then, what is it? Is it the boy's grandfather with a gun? Or is
I thought
that?
it was the sheriff or something.
I couldn't tell if it was a family member on the
He seemed
farm.
to be wearing a uniform.
Grandfather.
It was a lot of khaki. I don't know if it was a uniform, but
It was a rural farmer wearing a safari shirt. Grandfather. That's what it was.
Yeah, I thought it was a deputy at first, and then by the end I thought it was just a guy on the farm. But
yeah.
Easy, old man, he says, just passing through. I thought he was going to use the kid as a human shield.
Yeah, me too.
So is there a possible interpretation, too, when he saw the kid where he was like, how can I make this situation work for me?
I mean, I think the scene felt like it was intended to show us, because it's Brenner, right?
Yeah.
So I think it was intended to give us this hint of sympathy for Brenner, like he's not all bad, or like he has some sort of conscience, which is weird because it is actually kind of quickly retracted in subsequent scene.
I think it does kind of go through at least a little bit that, like, I never really believe that he's gonna like kill everyone. Like,
yeah,
maybe we'll get to that later, but like maybe it seems like this they kind of like soften him to the point where it almost undercuts the horror a little bit, because you kind of like him.
Yeah.
You know, in some ways, like maybe not all the way, but you know what I mean.
He's got a little humanity.
Should we just state that this is actually not a horror movie?
Right. It's an adventure. I mean, with some dire
melodrama.
It's a melodrama adventure.
It's like a suspense.
Yeah.
There's tension. I'm not saying there's not, but it's not a horror movie.
It's not a slasher or something.
This cover though, and you see the words "Death Stalk."
You can't.
That's why we got it.
Right.
You know, that's why it became.
No, I know.
Part of the canon.
I'm not saying that it's misleading.
Yeah,
is what I'm saying.
That's what we love most of all. We love to be misled, like like the House on Straw Hill. You know, we're like, oh, look at this horror movie, and it's like this romance about a writer. You know, we should do that one soon. By the way,
I'm surprised this one made the video stores. You know, out of all the TV movies that were made, I mean, there's probably plenty that didn't.
Yeah.
But this one did. You know, it has a fairly well-known cast, but
I think that's probably the main reason it didn't make it.
I guess so.
That definitely helped it.
That and the cover, I guess.
So the convicts hear the hounds, so they need to get to the river. Music kicks in again for the opening credits. I'm not playing it again, but it is good. We see some convicts running, and we see some couples rafting. The couples have lost the booze raft at one point. Don't lose the booze. The older guy. What is the name of the boss guy? What's his name?
Hugh.
Hugh?
Yeah.
Okay, Hugh says that. Luckily, the booze are safely retrieved. So now it's nighttime. The rafters are joking about whether they'll be getting amorous in the tent. Oh, these couples with their humor, huh?
Yeah, it's very adult.
Acting like adults. One of them.
Can we talk about these two couples and why they're on this trip together?
Okay, so Hugh is the boss. He's a lawyer.
Yeah, boss's orders.
He works at a law firm with the other guy. Who's the other guy?
Jack.
Okay, Jack's the other guy. Hugh's wife is Kathy.
Yeah.
Yes.
Kind of a May-December situation there?
Yes.
Those are the 2 months in that scenario? May-December.
Is it May-December, Tom?
I don't know.
When you talk about
I'm sure you're right, but I forgot what months they were.
No, May-December is like young girl, old guy.
Thank you.
Okay.
Yeah.
Or,
Imagine a January, December.
Frankly,
no, it's May because she's not an infant. It's a.
May is reasonable.
Hugh isn't that old. Let's say it's a May-October situation. Okay.
I think that's fair.
May-October, yeah, that's good.
Meanwhile, the other couple, they're more of a July couple. Who is it now? Who are they?
Patty.
Jack and Pat.
Okay. Jack and Pat have some kids, it seems. We don't know what's going on with the other two. We're going to learn later that Kathy still having some rolling around the hay with some country club guys, though. Right, Tom?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Well, we don't know that that's...
Ava has a very, very controversial theory that she can bring up later. Cool.
That's when we're talking about the epilogue.
All right.
We have.
I'm excited.
We don't want to get to that quite yet.
Yeah. Hey, anytime. Spoiler alerts are expected. But all right. So now, okay. So there.
But I just wait. I did just want to say
that
in what world do you go on a whitewater rafting vacation with your boss?
Yeah.
And his wife when you clearly hate your boss.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're right. The only thing I can say to that effect is he was really bossy, I guess.
Yeah.
And the member Patty says boss's orders. And maybe at that time Jack was kind of like, at the beginning of the story we get a feeling that he's like used to being pushed around more. And during the course of this 2 days, he becomes like a He-Man or something. But you know what I mean? Maybe a little bit of that, Ava.
I think that's definitely the character development. I think, it's one of the things where it's just because they have to establish all this stuff so quickly, they really kind of gloss over it. So like at the end of the day, you're kind of like, wait, what?
Yeah, it's so jarring.
It makes for melodrama, and it makes you have to listen to every line. And she just says quickly once, like, boss's orders, and then you start to realize, okay, he's a rich jerk. He's bossing people around.
Yeah.
I guess I get it.
Yeah, the shifts in tone are fantastic.
But they do seem to be trying to go for this. Like this ordeal is revealing the true nature of all four of these people.
Yes.
In like
there.
like deliverance kind of situation, except they like don't have the time or ability to convey it. You know what I mean? Yeah. All right. One of them hears something, and it's one of the convicts who says that
it's Brenner.
It's Brenner. Look, we got to discuss. His name's Leo Brenner. I think it's Brenner, but I feel that at times they call him Bruner. Can anyone second that?
They might call him.
They call him Bruner a few times, but it's still Brenner. I'm going to call him Brenner. Does everyone
IMDb
concur?
Says Brunner.
Brunner.
But they kind of pronounce it in different ways.
Yeah, that's something.
Yeah, I always heard Brenner.
Yeah, I heard Brenner more often than not, but I definitely heard a few Bruners. Anyway.
Yeah.
He's awesome here. Hey, I think this part you're talking about now, Farley, his natural kind of like ability and sort of charm really shines.
Oh, yeah.
Just approaching these two couples, and he doesn't overplay anything.
Yep. So, introduces himself to Jack, and then boom, hits him over the head, and ta-da, all the other convicts are there. They grab the guns. Yes.
Well, here's what I think. They don't grab the guns then. Off camera, that one rifle came from the farmer on the property.
Oh, okay. All right.
I don't know why they didn't show that scene. It's a little bit unbelievable that he would have been able to even get the rifle from that farmer, because he says, "Old man, I'm on my way," and the other two guys were like off looking in the barn.
Oh. So wait, did they sabotage that poor farmer?
It. And then when they show Norman Fell with the gun, he says, "Hey, this is actually pretty nice," because he just, he's just holding it for the first time.
Wow, good catch. Yeah. So did they kill
the
poor?
That makes so much more sense, because it didn't seem like these couples. There was no reason for them to have this huge hunting rifle.
I was wondering why they took a rifle on their rafting.
I didn't
trip.
realize it till the second time watching it. It's a little weird that it's kind of not great. Plotting that
they
way.
Probably just had to cut it out for time.
Maybe, yeah.
Do you think they killed the poor old grandfather?
Probably.
Oh, that's hard.
Maybe they knocked him out though. Actually, Brenner enjoys knocking people out and giving them a fair chance, kind of. So he might have just knocked him out or tied him up.
Good old Brenner.
Yeah.
All right, now the ladies go to get.
And the baby's playing next to an anvil, so he could have knocked his head with the anvil. We picked that up on the first viewing.
Yeah, I remember that.
Baby and anvil.
With rusty toys and an anvil in the middle of the field. Yeah. He's fine.
The ladies go to get food, or they're told to get food for the convicts. One of them mentions that one of the guys mentions that he's imagined women walking like that for a year in the pen. He's just been, conjuring that image up in his brain. Now he gets to see it. They take the men away to tie him up. I've been in jail so long, I was starting to believe the greatest smell in the world was coffee. One of them says.
Good shock line.
That's a good line right there. All meat, not a potato in sight, one of them says as the women provide them with food. Look, this is going to come up a lot, but it's dark, and there's presumably, acres and acres of woods out there. The ladies can just run at any point, right?
Yeah, maybe that's not the most practical. And we get to see later one instance where she tries to run and prove she was weary from the river at that point.
Yeah, but I mean, what about when they're just sleeping? They're just sleeping there, and the kid comes and talks to them. I'm like, wait, they just go to sleep? Like they were actually woken up by the kid. Like, just go run into the darkness. Okay.
So are the guys bemoaning the lack of potatoes?
I think I don't. Yeah, is that?
They really are.
I think they're
Isn't that
happy there's
so
no
weird?
potato.
You would think you'd flop that.
There's no double entendre or anything either. It's just the food. They wish there were potatoes to go with the
What
meat.
convict doesn't want more more meats, and wants the filler, like the starch on the side?
I thought they meant they got too many potatoes in prison and they didn't. They were happy
they
that
were being sarcastic.
Yeah.
All meat.
Maybe.
Oh,
That's how I heard it.
So they're happy. They were kind of like, look at that, all meat, not a potato in sight, and saying it in a happy way.
And then at home, the writer is watching this when it premieres. He's like, "That's not the way I wrote the line." He was confused.
Totally.
Why is he sarcastic.
Yes. Oh, you're so right. That's what it is.
Something got crossed.
Oh, that's funny. All right. So convicts try to convince the youngest one. Oh, no. The husbands try to convince the kid, the youngest convict, to turn on his buddies, but it doesn't work. Yes.
Kind of an interesting bit there, because that gives us the majority of the
backstory
for Hugh. I mean, it is a good way for him to say that he's a high-priced he's a high-powered lawyer. They're from San Francisco. That kind of stuff is it comes in little glimpses, and that's a big chunk right there.
Yeah, very good call. Very good call. All right. Meanwhile, the lady, brunette, who's the brunette? What's her name? Pat. She says, what happens mine now? And Brenner says, what do you have in mind? But now it's the next morning. They all just slept there. They're like, all right, good night, everyone. Good night. See you in the morning. Again, I guess if your husbands are tied down there, you're like, all right, we're not going to run because we don't want to abandon them, I guess. But
And there's the other guy, Norman Fell, right? He still has the rifle.
Yeah.
What's his name? Dale?
Cody.
Cody.
I was way off.
I call him Cal sometimes, though.
Cal is one of the guys.
So presumably he's keeping watch, and they're afraid to run because of that.
Oh, Cal is Shepherd. Sorry. Okay.
Yeah, Cal is Shepherd.
Okay.
Cal Shepherd.
Frank Cody is the other guy.
Okay.
But they do say at one point, kind of offhand, that it would be a long walk through the woods to get back to anywhere. They mention it.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a little bit of justification there that it would be potentially unrealistic for them to go through the woods.
Hey, look, when all of us do our couples rafting trip, inevitably, when we all get together for a couples rafting trip, I just want it on record. If this situation happens, if any of us have the opportunity to flee, just go, okay? Just go. Flee, save yourself, and get some help, okay?
This sounds good.
Fair enough.
All right. So now the ladies are leaving in the rafts with the convicts. The husbands are tied up there, helpless on shore, just watching the convicts take their ladies. Okay, should we discuss, other than the movie wouldn't exist otherwise, if you were the convicts, would you be like, we got to take these ladies with us,
Yeah.
Would you take them with you? I would not. You know, I would just leave all the husband and the ladies on the shore tied up.
But this is that's the camouflage. They're not even real, even though they use the word hostage. It's not really that. It's like the police are looking for men on the run. They're not looking for men with women with them on the run.
All right. I'll give you that. Even still,
they pretend that they're like, couples rafting. So, and I think they probably also thought, hey, we can push these ladies around, so they weren't as scared of them.
All right. I'll take it. Okay.
I think it kind of makes sense. I mean, because they do show like there's like a plane that goes over, and like this seems to be kind of like a touristy spot. Like there's a chance they're gonna get seen. It's not like rituals, which I will talk about later, but completely in the wilderness,
What they should have done though is change clothes with the husbands or something. They're still wearing that like bright
They're wearing all their
police denim.
Good call.
Like a sea of denim.
Yeah,
it's
very
a little
good
suspicious.
point. Yeah. As the convicts get acquainted with steering the raft, the husbands try to free themselves from the ropes. What's the younger guy's name again? Jack breaks a bottle and uses it to cut through the rope. Yes, Charlie.
Yeah, but the cool thing there, which is sort of like a wrinkle on the situation. Usually in a movie like this, someone goes over, and a lot of times they'll like rub their ropes on the rock to free their hands, and it works really easily.
Yeah.
It was kind of an inspired thing. Where it'd be like, hey, that's not sharp enough. That is going to take you like a week to keep doing that. So it was kind of charming. And then I give that actor tons of props because he actually rolls down to the river, picks up a bottle in his mouth, which looked ridiculous, and then like broke it on the rock without a cut. That was cool.
It looked difficult, and he was a little clumsy doing it in a natural way, though,
Yeah, it was cool. And they established that bottle really well, too. Showing Norman Fell drinking from it before they embarked, so it wasn't just like a random bottle that was there. And what were you gonna say, Tom?
No, I was saying they really did a nice job making them roll around and try to get out. And it showed this was also the first instance of Jack like taking it upon himself to figure something out, and the other guy just was kind of whining, laying there like he's already given up basically.
Totally.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, so Pat, she's in the boat with Brenner and Cody, and she's kind of she's giving Brenner trouble. She's like, "What do you know about what ladies do and don't do?" And meanwhile, Kathy is dealing with the aggressive advances of Shepard in the other boat. That's what's going on. The husbands free themselves. Charlie, go.
I just want to give Shepard, that actor, some credit for being pretty convincing Neville Brand, creepy convict guy.
Yeah.
He really sells it, more than Norman Fell. But I guess Norman Fell is not supposed to be the creepy one. He's just like an older guy who's in prison or whatever. But Neville Brand seems unhinged.
Yeah, and dirty and creepy and gross. Yeah.
Yes.
Definitely. He does
I mean, out of all of them, he was really the most menacing, right? Like.
Oh yeah.
By far, yeah.
Norman Fell, like he's like the sharpshooter, like clearly the number 2 in the group, whereas like Shepard is like that kind of wild card who is kind of like with the group because it's convenient for him, but he doesn't really actually want to be under Brenner's leadership. Brenner's sort of like the clear leader, and then you've got the kid.
Yeah.
Name I forgot, but everyone calls him Kid.
Just call him a kid. That's fine.
Yeah.
All right, the husbands are free. They pump up the remaining boat. The older guy is mad. He's like, "We should have pumped this up last night. Why didn't you tell me?" He's great. Oh, there's some good back and forth coming up. Meanwhile, in Kathy's boat, Shepard in the back provokes the kids so much that the kid's about ready to fight him, and Kathy breaks up the fight. Where I'm like, Kathy, let them fight with each other. Maybe you'll get out of the boat, or. But she's like, "Stop it, you two!" Like, what the heck?
It's a weird moment, and you forget who's. You just think they're like a family vacation.
Yeah. Can't you two get along in this hostage situation?
it's fast. They're fast friends, like not a Stockholm syndrome, but like it's like there's like a very quick blending going on and dynamic that happens in like that couple hours.
Yeah. The husbands are bickering about whether to stop at sundown or keep going. Jack argues that they're no good dead, which is why they're gonna have to, which is what they'll be if they keep going in the dark. And now the ladies and the convicts are camped out, and we're gonna listen to the ladies off in the corner commiserating a little bit. Let's hear what they have to say.
You all right? I've never been so scared in my life. We're safe for now.
Safe? Look, you haven't been in a raft with that creep.
Well, just hang on. There may be help coming. The raft, the third raft.
I forgot about it.
I'm sure they'll find some way to follow us.
All right. That wasn't very exciting dialogue. I'm sorry, but
Yeah, it's okay. I mean,
it's always good. Every time they talk to each other, I'm kind of happy. So I'm okay with it. Anyone have any thoughts before we move on?
I just will give this movie credit for it. It does have a few little confusing bits of dialogue I like double talk and stuff that I don't really get people's intonations or tones, or Kathy's a little slow on the uptake. And that's kind of funny in a shock way, in a way you might not see in a more polished, even though it's polished camera-wise and relatively so editing-wise.
Yeah.
There's some zany bits of dialogue, like the Joan of Arc thing as the first example. There's a few other ones, but I like that. It keeps you on your toes where you're kind of like, what do they mean?
Well, it's interesting, I think, especially with regard to Kathy, because when you start watching, she's like the younger trophy wife. You assume she's this big airhead, and like her arc is actually very interesting in this movie.
Yeah.
Whereas, like, what actually I find so fascinating about this whole thing is that where people start and the arcs that you think they're gonna have isn't exactly where they end up.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's so true.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And the arc of the movie too is it's Death Stalk. You think it's going to be like these killers like hunting people down, and that's why I bring up Rituals. You feel like it's going to be like that kind of movie in the woods, like killer stalking people. But it's not. It's the hunted people are actually the killers.
That's
It's
true.
the
And the stalkers.
the hero guys. It's so bizarre. Like I've never really seen a movie like that that's so kind of upside down like that, and they still manage to keep some tension.
Is Death Stalk the original title?
More or less, I think. I mean, I looked
Interesting.
for the also knowns as, and it didn't really come up except it said something in Germany. But there's a novel, so I'd have to look up the novel.
Yeah, it is based off of a novel.
Isn't that funny?
Fletchway Canyon.
Ooh, I'd like to read that. All right. Go, Ava.
I was just gonna say that I don't know if you guys have ever seen The River of No Return. It's Robert Mitchum, Marilyn Monroe.
No.
It's a terrible movie, but it's also a whitewater rafting type movie.
Wow.
So this movie reminded me a lot of that, and it's a very similar concept where they're on the run from the law, and or I don't know if there's the law or Indians. It's a whole thing. I think it's the law.
I don't remember.
I think Robert Mitchum is like a convict or something. He's like it's out in the West. And Marilyn Monroe is like she's a prostitute, I guess, because she's like prostitute with the heart of gold. And there's a kid, and they just like take a raft down the river, and they like bicker the whole time. And it's a very similar setup. I'm like, there's not a lot you can do when you're like on a raft and trying to navigate the rapids. And one thing that these actors clearly had to do a lot of was like be in the water and actually like, which makes for some funny scenes because you can tell that they're not actually all that good at it.
Yeah.
So then they're like, they're like kind of in the raft and they're kind of trying to navigate, and it's not really like, it doesn't look elegant.
Yeah. When they go under that branch that one time, there's like a branch catches them in the head, they're ducking under it, and then it's going sideways.
They just they look uncomfortable, and because they are, in a lot of those shots. And
but it adds an element of reality to the movie.
Yeah.
I think that it's it's a very unique type of film.
It must have been such a headache to film. I can't even
my
imagine.
God.
Oh.
Imagine if you like the camera guys focus wasn't good.
Yeah, like
okay,
we have to go
get
back,
off land,
go back 250 feet and get back in
drag
the water.
raft
Yeah.
back.
Ugh.
Unbelievable.
Which is, I think, why they also spend quite a bit of time in the still section of the river at one point.
Totally.
Because they're like supposedly reaching these rapids, and it takes them forever. And what's funny is that when the husbands are on the chase, they don't actually spend as much time on the still. They're in the more rapid stuff because really all they're doing is there's not a lot of dialogue really needed there, so they're just kind of going.
Total, yeah. And I would be the same way making our movie. I'd have all the scenes take place in the comm section, you know? The kid slips and mentions they're headed for Canada. And Kathy responds with a question about it, which is not a good move. You got a big mouth, kid, says one of the convicts. And what's her name? The brunette says, you just signed our death warrant.
Yeah, she's very serious there.
Like, okay. The severity of that slip. I mean, Canada's a big place, you know?
Yeah.
Like, is that really the one fact that is going to decide whether they let him live or not? It felt a little
it's a little forced. But Kathy and the kid are like made for each other because he's like, "We're going to Canada." And then
really?
He's not supposed to say, and then she's not supposed to say, "Canada? What's going on there?" So like two innocents,
perfect storm. Yeah,
who don't think about things. So yeah, don't think it through.
So the convicts agree that they're gonna kill the ladies tomorrow. One of them wants to have a little fun with them, but Brenner's like, no, not happening. He lives by a code. That Brenner. He really does. Meanwhile, the husbands talk a little bit. Kathy's husband worries about the convicts laying their hands on his wife. He'd have to kill him. He vowed that he would if it ever happened. So meanwhile, the kid warns the lady. This is where the kid wakes them up in the middle of the night and says they need to escape. They have some harebrained scheme. Yeah. And I'm just like, or just go ladies, just go that way. Everyone else is asleep. Just go. But maybe Brenner isn't asleep because the next scene he catches the kid trying to cut the rope, and he kills him. Brenner's got it. Hey, he's got to do it, Tom.
He had no choice.
I mean, he turns his back on the kid and walks away.
Yeah.
And the kid does the one last attack that they were clearly showing that Brenner was maybe even going to let the kid run away. That's at least what he's saying. And I guess I believe him because of his code.
He lives by a code. Next day, the husbands are on the river. When the river patrol flies over, they try to get the attention of the plane, but not happening. And now, let's listen to the ladies commiserating a little bit more. I think this is a little bit more exciting of a commiserating session.
I keep thinking about that poor kid.
He was doing it for himself, too.
Yeah. I know what he must have been feeling. Panic. At being in a situation he couldn't control.
But we can.
What?
The name of the game is Stay Alive.
Yeah, well, you heard that kid. They're gonna get rid of us as soon as we get through those rapids.
Right, unless we can make them change their minds. Give them a good reason to want to keep us around.
And how do we do that?
You already have a head start. Shepherd.
What are you talking about?
Doing whatever we have to do to survive. And if that means Shepherd and Brunner, well, then it does.
You'd never go through with it.
My children need a mother.
Shepherd. Oh, God.
Look, it's a lot easier for you than for me. Jack was my first and only, and we both know you've played around a lot before and since your marriage.
I could have been around and back twice before I'd let that pig touch me.
Well, just close your eyes and you'll think he's just another lush from your country club.
Ooh, whoa, a lot going on there. This is the best scene in the movie.
I was so horrified by this entire scene. I was slightly sympathetic to Pat until the scene, and then I was like, nope, I'm done. I dislike this woman intensely. She is the worst. I am entirely on Kathy's side. I do not care. Like, the slut shaming is not okay with me.
And let's face it, Pat is like, oh, I have been waiting for this moment. Now I have an excuse why I can finally cheat on my husband, and no one can say it's that I'm bad for doing it. Yeah, let's do this, Kathy. Come on. And I feel like it's even the writers knew that when they wrote. Like, it's compelling. Like, seriously, it's good. Charlie?
Yeah, that's what they were going for. I mean, that was the thing that I think was, a little edgy about it. I just enjoy Kathy's, even though, irrespective of the seriousness here, I just like how she's always slow to pick up on things. It's funny. It's sort of charming. It takes, like, the audience, we know what Pat's getting at, and Kathy's still like, what do you mean? And, like, it's funny they cut back to her, and you're like, the wheels are turning, but they're turning slowly.
And the way that she's like, Shepherd, ugh.
Yeah, that's funny, too. It's like
I also
kids
think
gossiping.
it just overall, like, shows, like, it's like, in spite of, like, the way that Pat portrays Kathy as being, right? This, like, woman, this sort of floozy who cheats on her husband, her older husband at the country club, and she's a lush and blah, blah, blah. Like, there's all this judgment. And, like, she actually, throughout the movie, she's, like, pretty just innocent.
Oh,
the whole
yeah.
time.
She's great. Yeah, she's the only person you can really support throughout the movie. She's the best. But it is so funny that Pat is being so like getting all these digs in, the situation is calling for, like, you won't just pretend it's one of your country club, like, wow, what
of all the times to. I will say, on a whole, though, I appreciate the melodrama here.
I love it so much.
It's so over the top that it takes the edge off. If you were watching a movie that was more harsh and realistic with this scenario, and there's lush music a lot of times, and just the
nothing is really at stake. You don't ever feel that anything's at stake.
It doesn't hurt you so much as a very realistic portrayal of these kind of things. It's a little bit more, oh my gosh, soap opera.
Right, because the ladies could just walk into the woods at any point and escape. I just had to throw that in one more time.
And the music, I'll tell you.
They do have, for being hostages.
They have a lot of freedom.
They're not bound.
Yeah.
The lady's like, we're going to have a little chat over here. And like, okay, you do what you got to do.
That's what I keep thinking back to Rituals. I keep mentioning it, I know, but and I know it's a different setup, but in Rituals, like, you have people that are injured, right? You have people that, like, need to be carried. They're running out of supplies, and, like, all that kind of stuff. Like, none of that is here at all. Like, everyone's pretty comfortable. They have food. They're sleeping. They're not, like, hurt.
Yeah. Nothing's at stake. It's so laid back. It's almost a little exciting for everybody.
The stakes are. You kind of. I guess you're worried a little bit about Shepherd and possibly that they're gonna get killed, but the stakes are pretty low. Like, I don't really believe anything's bad is gonna happen. It's kind of great.
There's a few moments where it just seems like the convicts are having a pretty good time in the rafts. The women are kind of smiling. And there's a few moments where it looks like a fun rafting trip, and everyone has forgotten their scenarios.
Yeah.
So the river patrol flies by. That's the moment where they tell the ladies to act natural, and one of them is like, "We should wave then, because that's what I would do," and they all happily wave to the plane. So that's fun.
Well, it's Pat who tells Brenner. So this is her like.
She doesn't want it to end.
Right.
Yeah.
This
Seriously.
is her sort of like sneaky. I think her play is, I'm going to make myself indispensable to make sure that these guys don't get caught. so they won't kill me.
Mm-hmm.
But
It's also I still haven't had my moment with Brenner.
right.
Yeah.
And she also might like just, chiming in with a good idea, and he looks at her like, hey, you're good looking and you got good ideas.
Yeah.
That's like, they kind of start to have a more bond. It's like a bonding moment.
Yeah. All right. In fact, speaking of them bonding, let's listen to them talk right here.
That poor boy.
Would have happened sooner or later.
Why did you kill him?
Because he was going to kill me.
He wasn't a killer.
Nobody is until it happens. And I wasn't going to be the one to find that out. You feel like a cat.
I'm not purring.
Don't worry, you will. There are more ways than one to stroke a cat.
Whew, some conflicting feelings going on in Patty right there, huh, Charlie?
Leslie Nielsen could have said that in one of the Naked Guns.
Yeah, you're absolutely right.
It didn't
Yeah.
dawn on me till now.
It's
but
so over the top, and
because it makes the audience think. Like,
like,
okay.
What do you even mean? Yeah, what are you talking about?
Well, obviously our listeners wouldn't know, but when he's like telling her that she feels like a cat, he's actually stroking her hair.
Yes.
So
It's true.
It's
but I don't,
so you have
poetic
a little
and-
bit of visual. You like when you're viewing this, you're like, oh, okay, this is where this is turning. But it's such a weird segue in the conversation because they're like literally just talking about him committing murder, and he's I guess.
That's a good point.
And then he's like, oh, I'm just going to pet your hair here.
It's a little abrupt.
Yeah, she didn't get any dust or like a bug in her hair. He just reaches out and
Now I
pets
shall
her hair.
pet you. Yeah. Yeah, but it's good. It's the more I think about it, the more it's like, wow, this is kind of like when I think of the shifts in tone. Oftentimes that's like a mistake, but like. They were definitely going for the theme that Patty has a thing for Brenner, and it's a pretty cool little subplot to have going in there. It's good stuff.
Yeah.
The blonde Kathy drops her necklace on the shore because of all maybe the husbands will just happen to go to that exact spot in the next scene.
But again, it's like at least she's trying. Like,
yeah, she's great. Pat is just trying to seduce Brenner.
She doesn't want to be found.
Yeah, I know. The husbands discuss the game plan. We'll play it by ear, says Jack. And the other guy says, that's good for pianos, but not for rifles. So many of these, like...
Not for rifles. I mean, not for, like, life and death, or not for a chase. I don't know. Not for rifles.
There's so many moments, like the purring cat, and those different ways to stroke a cat. And this line about the rifles, it's just right out of, like, bad film noir kind of thing,
Yeah, purple prose, I guess, right?
I don't know that phrase, but yeah.
Tom,
Yes, no,
Ava.
that's like when it's like over the top, flowery
Yeah.
ridiculousness.
I love it. The husbands bicker as they pull over at the exact spot where Kathy left her necklace. And then, oh, this is so great. They find the dead kid. And let's listen to the conversation that comes up after that.
Oh. The kid. Thank God it's not Pat or Kathy. Well, give me a hand. We'll bury him, I guess. We'll do it later. We don't have time.
Well, we can't leave him like that.
He is dead, Hugh. Our wives are still alive, maybe. Now, let's get going.
Listen, I give the orders. I say when we go.
Where do you think we are? At the office?
I don't give a damn where we are. I'm the boss, and I give the orders. Now, you give me a hand with him, and by God, you're fired. You're through.
Well, I'll save you the trouble. I quit.
Who are you kidding? Well, you'd starve out there by yourself.
Maybe. But that'd be a better way of going. I haven't been blind to you. I saw how you get your kicks sticking pins in people, watching them jump. Well, I'm through getting stuck. I'm not going to jump for you or anybody else.
I'll bust you when we get back to town. You wait.
You're yellow and you know it.
And
that's
Hugh,
so good.
Hugh is punched and down on the ground. Oh my God.
Yeah, Jack standing over him. It's like the shot in Stepsisters. Remember that? It's actually one of the stepsisters lording over. But wow, that's probably like a page in the script, and it's so much has happened.
So much. First, I mean, like Hugh, what are you talking? You suddenly want to bury one of the convicts who?
This was like the most ridiculous. We were Tom and I like literally like looked at each other. We're like, wait, what?
Why did he care?
No, because our theory is for Pat, right? That she doesn't want to get found because she wants to have her little fling.
And Hugh doesn't want to find Kathy, I think.
He doesn't want to find them because he's afraid.
Yeah.
Or I don't know exactly why, but I don't think he wants to catch up to them.
Well, I think he doesn't want to catch up. Well, first of all, like Jack accuses him, he's a coward, A.
Yeah.
And I think, remember, he's told us already, he made a vow that if any man touched his wife, he was going to kill that man. But I think he's like, I cannot go through with that. I am not, like, he is not actually a killer.
Right.
He doesn't have that kind of killer instinct in him, even though he's this big man boss. So, because, like, what's really happening here is, like, we're totally seeing Jack become the, like, true alpha in the situation, right? Like, that's what's going on. And this is, like, the scene where he really takes, like, the lead and, like, really becomes the sort of, like, he's been leading, but then this is the moment where he's just like, you are just along for the ride.
Yeah, and
you notice Hugh wears yellow to match his
cowardice.
Yes, he does.
Yes.
And I give the movie credit this time around, like, oh, they did think of this kind of stuff. So I give them credit for these developments. I don't give them credit for choosing that the thing they'll fight about is whether or not to bury the kid. You know, like that is just like that's like lazy writing, sort of like if you need them to fight, that is a weird like.
Well, I think it does work though, because Hugh kind of latches onto that as an excuse to take more time.
I guess, but I don't. It's
They should have fought more over the plan on which way to go. That would have been
right.
Yeah.
Because even though Hugh in the back of his mind kind of doesn't want to get there, but I think he's smart enough not to be that wishy-washy about. I don't know, but
And if they did know,
it's just a very bizarre thing to argue about.
Yeah.
When they're clearly like their ultimate goal is to catch up to their wives. So taking time to bury some dude that they don't know or should not care about. Like there's no, you're going to catch up to the rest of the convicts. And when you find the frickin' police, you're going to tell them, oh, by the way, there's a dead body at this clearing up the river.
It's like, so obvious to everyone. Everyone knows what to do in this situation. Everyone.
And it sends mixed messages to get hung up on something that has other like moral or ethical implications that are unrelated to the main.
It'd be cool if Hugh was like, I also made another vow that if I ever find a dead man, I will bury him.
I think the actor who plays Hugh wasn't clear on your guy's good theory about wanting to waste time either. He's going for maybe I just want my way.
And also, the night before, Hugh is like, we got to paddle through the darkness, and it's Jack who says, no, we can't do it. So
that's true.
So there's some major inconsistencies, but it makes for, I mean, it's such an enjoyable moment when that happens. Just those moments when you can look at someone and be like, wait, what? What?
Yes.
How? This is so unbelievable in every possible way. A toddler would be like, Hugh, come on, like get a grip. Like everyone knows the right way to deal with this situation.
Yeah, and then the movie moves on. There's a zoom shot in. There's a big music cue, and then there's credits or something. That's it works.
I love it, lady.
Yeah, but that was like a clear commercial break, right?
Oh yeah, I would think so.
Totally,
yeah.
soap opera zoom in, and then a commercial break.
So the ladies and the convicts ride through some rough rapids after Pat coaches them all on what to expect, which is just kind of funny. You know, they're like, you're our hostage now, you better coach us and coach us well on how to handle it. She's like, okay.
It's so like, honestly, that's one of the most absurd things that they keep like arguing about, like her expertise as a, like, first of all, they would have no idea whether or not she was an actual whitewater rapid expert.
They just assume she's done this route before.
And she's like,
which, I mean, it turns out they do establish she has
a
done
year
this
ago.
at least once with her husband.
It'd be good if she was like, now you want to grip, use your right hand to grip it in this fashion, and you know, like it's such vague direction she's giving, Charlie.
And it seems like Cody Norman Fell is a little bit knowledgeable about rafts too, which I enjoyed. It was very vague, and there's many times where I'm like, is he just making it up to satisfy Brenner, or you know, did you guys get that too? Where
he's like, can we make it?
Maybe. Yeah. Can we make it with 5 through the rapids? I say we got a shot. It's like, how would he know?
Sure.
He's this random guy who doesn't even talk about rafting a lot. They would have had to have one line early where he's like, I rafted up here when I was a kid. I know this like the back of my... He doesn't know anything about it necessarily that we know. And I find that charming. It makes me wonder.
We haven't gotten to that part yet, but at that point, it's like, you're so close to the bridge. Just leave the ladies now. You don't, you know, like, do you really need them for the last 500 feet of the ride? Anyway, Shepard, or one of them, they show a couple close-ups. I think it's Shepard. He's just loving the rapids. He's like so happy. He's free.
Yeah, that was a fun moment. That was completely out of character and didn't support the movie. But that's why I liked it.
Now, I don't even know. What did Kathy do? Did she pop the boat somehow?
Yeah, she pulled like a patch off or something like that to let the air out.
Okay, and then they go overboard.
Then things got a little, soggy on the boat, and she was able to, kind of tipped over, and then she was able to jump out.
She gets to shore and makes a run for it. Now, this is what you're saying.
No, she doesn't make a run for it. She
hangs out for a little while. Yeah.
And lays down.
She lays down
for
a while.
Lays down, tired.
Poor choice.
It was just like, she manages to swim to shore. And, like, the whole thing is kind of absurd when you see the way when you see the sort of framing, because the shepherd swims over to the other raft, and then they kind of just like, it literally takes them no time to like paddle to where Kathy is laying and like she kind of notices them coming up, and she like, that's when she gets up and runs, and it's like she doesn't even go like 5 paces.
Right.
Yeah. Now, Charlie, you would argue that she knew her limitations, and that's why she didn't run away in the darkness earlier. Charlie, what do you say?
Yeah, it's possible. It's possible, and then it is maybe. And in this case, I don't know. She's also weary and like exhausted, so I don't know how much. And there's also maybe she just is forced to play that kind of dated. She does that dated horror movie fall that women always had to do. That's they just thought that's what we do here because that's what we've always done. Yeah. Or also maybe they didn't want to change locations and go away from the river too much or go into the woods. But I don't know. It's funny. It's kind of funny. It's so melodramatic. It's very fake, and it makes you wonder, like the staging, like you said, Ava, and it's enjoyable. It's ridiculous, but it's going by and it's enjoyable.
So now let's listen. To the convict. So the other convicts get to the shore too, and they're discussing that whole 5 people in one raft situation, which gives the ladies time to have this little discussion.
Kathy, have you been thinking about what we talked about before?
Shepard? Oh no, I couldn't.
Well, listen, you better prepare yourself that you may have to. There may not be any other way out.
No.
Okay, it's your life, it's your decision. But my family needs me. And I intend to stay alive any way I can.
Pat, we're probably about to die. Can't you face the truth even now?
What truth?
It's not Jack and the kids. It's Brunner.
Brunner? Look, Don't you try to compare your life with mine. This isn't some weekend fling we're talking about. This is life and death. I have been a good wife and a good mother, and it hasn't been easy. I am not like you.
You know, I was a single woman for quite some time before I married you. I know what men like Brynner are like. They're animals.
Whoa.
Oh, this is
So much going on. First of all, Pat is so pushy at the beginning of that conversation. She's like, "So have you thought about, with
Here's
the
what I'd like to talk
guys?"
about. You getting with the scary evil guy. Can we talk about that some more?
She's like, well, she's like, Kathy's like, I've been trying to escape. You've done nothing. You're just like, it's like, well, nothing else is working. I've tried nothing. We might as well.
I tried. I guess we're gonna have to do the thing we talked about with those guys. Kathy is so like clear-headed. She's like, Pat, we're about to die. Like, why are you so hung up on getting intimate with these guys? Like, what is going on? Oh, I love it.
And it's all undercut by, well, one thing, her saying, I was a single man for quite some time before I married. That makes no sense. That whole sentence, just like cross it out, because you're not that old and everyone is single before they get married. So it's just makes no sense.
And it's been established that she's been sleeping around since marriage too. Although Ava would beg to differ, perhaps.
It's just basically.
Well, she never admits to sleeping around after she's married, but she in that scene she says, she intimates that she was experienced.
Active. Yeah.
And then she says, Brynner, he's an animal, and that's basically against the whole writer's view of Brynner and the truth too, because he's a clear-headed thinking guy and he actually reasons with people and he doesn't just kill or lash out throughout the entire movie, really. Right. So she's actually wrong, but it's almost like they don't know that. The writer thought by giving this line to Kathy, he was dispensing this great wisdom or something about the men and the convicts. But in this case, he's the only one who's not.
The idea is, though, like, it's kind of like that, I think it's like that he's, what is so appealing about Brynner, right? It's that he's kind of, again, it's like that alpha male idea, right? And he's the one who's taking charge, and he's the one who's the leader, and so...
Especially compared to her husband, too.
Magnetism that charms people and draws people. So I think that's what I understood.
Okay.
Or there's a raw sexual energy that's what's drawing Pat into his orbit, and why she won't because it's what's funny is because at first she puts up these sort of early token protests, but then pretty quickly she is happy. She does not protest him touching her.
No.
Whereas Shepard even puts a finger on Kathy, and she's like, ugh, and you kind of get it. He's repulsive.
Yeah, and Kathy's a good, decent person too. But
Pat, the other thing is, in the way Pat talks to you there, she's like, I've been a good mother and a good wife, and it hasn't always been easy. And it's almost like she wants to say, and I deserve.
Yes, absolutely. Yes.
It's really weird.
It's really weird.
It's really great because it's a strange way to excuse her feelings, the feelings that she's clearly developed for Brynner. So she's like, I have had this difficult marriage, and I've worked really hard, so I'm going to sleep with someone else because that's my reward.
Yeah, yeah.
It just doesn't really track, but if you think about things logically, but in the logic of the movie, it works perfectly. And it really this whole melodrama about whether or not someone is sleeping with the convicts is
the fact that we're even talking about it is awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It makes the movie.
This horror movie kind of.
It's the best part of the movie, I think, by far.
I mean, it really is, because like there's actually very little suspense. There's this chase happening, but like it's pretty clear they're all headed to the same place, and there have been enough delays with the convicts, and the husbands have clearly made up time.
Yeah.
Which I think we'll discover shortly. So it's like, the suspense is not like, oh, these two groups will they ever meet? Like, that they will. But really it's the interpersonal dynamics between them that is kind of like
the only interesting part.
You're spending time with this group.
I love it. I love that the convicts gave them this many opportunities to just kind of chat. It's nice. So nice of them. All right, so the convicts see the husbands are getting closer, so they plan that they're gonna shoot them. Now I thought the second raft was unusable, but now it's just instantly been fixed. What's going on with that? Because Cody's able to get on it.
They had patched it.
So while the dramatic
the delay, we don't see it, but they had patched it, and then they were debating whether or not it was actually going to get them to the bridge.
Okay.
Or whether or not to just goop together and be try putting 5 on a raft. Listen, that plan of 5 on a raft was completely stupid, because there was no way that was ever really going to work.
They could barely fit 3. Yeah.
They don't even 5. Fit.
Yeah.
4 barely even fit.
Right.
So this is why then it makes sense to have Cody go up alone.
Stake out his spot.
Right. Cody goes to do his thing. Now Cody has his moment where he's sitting there waiting for them. Like just out of nowhere, he's like, "I'm not going back. They'll never take me back. Never. Not going back. Women. That's the trouble. Women. Never been any good. Don't like women. Never liked women. Should have got rid of them." It's like, whoa, Cody.
Yeah, that's a lot for us to take in at this point of the movie. We don't really know anything about him, and he's just talking to himself about women.
What a great little moment right there. That was good.
Well, it's also kind of funny because that kind of conversation is actually something that the convicts probably should have been arguing about more, throughout they should have had more arguments about whether or not they're dragging these women along with them. Whether or not it's it's really funny because they just sort of take them with them, and then and then they won't let them leave. And they're like, oh, they can, now that they, the excuse is well, they know we're going to Canada.
Yeah. So just kill them. Just kill them now. If you're going to kill, I mean, this is the point where, well, like you said, yes. Apparently Cody this had just been building up inside of Cody throughout the whole movie. And he's watching this plan, and the whole time he's like, women ruin everything. Why, But he was afraid to say anything till he had this moment in the woods. And then secondly, they're trying to squeeze 4 or 5 people on a boat. And why? We're almost to the point where we'll finally ditch these ladies, though. So get on board, ladies, and join us for the last stretch.
Yeah, here's what's amazing. Just really quickly. It might be just so messy that the movie is actually better or more realistic than a well-planned out Hollywood movie, because Brenner is like, I kind of like him and I don't want to kill him right now, and I'm not going to plan well, and I'm going to let that affect my decision making.
Yeah.
So it's this weird, messy thing where it's just maybe in real life some bumbling crooks would meet some women, and he has a instant attraction, and he's like, you know what, it goes against everything, and I'm not really thinking clearly now, and they just roll with it. You don't expect to see that in a movie, though, where you expect things to be thought out and playing out well.
Yeah, that's a good point. Like life, things are messy in Death Stalk. And
well, I feel when the sort of noir or westerns, where there's the woman that they sort of take along and becomes sort of the lead guy's love interest, and it's always there's always drama around whether or not she belongs there or doesn't belong there, and the rest of the crew doesn't want her. Like, it's kind of like the Yoko Ono type, like she's the one. It's always her fault that the band broke up, right? So it's her fault that it's the women's fault that this crew suddenly can't act competently.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And so it's like it's kind of hewing to some sort of tried and true tropes.
That's true. Although, and they're also a bumbling crew, right? Like even from the start, you've got the kid who is not very smart. You've
Kid's
got
an idiot.
The leader is good. He's pretty smart. Shepard is loose cannon.
Loose cannon.
Cody's
got a lot going on, it turns out.
He's got a lot going on in his mind. That rant was probably going on many times when he wasn't vocalizing it. And they're not very fast. They're not all particularly strong. I mean, I don't know. It's just funny. When you see them fleeing, you're kind of like, this is a motley crew here.
I'd love it if
even when they're running at the beginning, like
when they're running, it's
lumbering.
Yeah.
Terrible.
I remember seeing that first scene and being like, what?
They're not gonna get very far.
These are very bad runners.
All the actors are like, we're not running any more realistically than this. Sorry, director. This is as good as you're gonna get. It would be nice if, like, throughout the movie, there were just close-ups of Cody, and that speech, we just got to hear his thoughts, and he was always just thinking that. That would be a good movie. So Cody shoots at the husband. I guess he hits Jack in the shoulder. Yeah.
Yes. Jack doesn't really mind.
He doesn't mind so much.
In those gigantic life jackets, which were like comical, but no, it's fine. The movie didn't handle that part well.
He shrugs it off. So then what's his name? Hugh? Is that the other?
Yeah.
Hugh goes off onto the shore. Jack hides behind the raft and floats along with it. The whole time I'm saying to Cody, I'm like, Cody, just shoot the raft. Like just to at least see if someone's on the other side of it. Finally he does. And I'm sorry?
He tries. It doesn't
Eventually.
seem like he can hit it, though.
But it's like he spends quite a long time staring at the raft before he actually takes any action.
You know why? Because the whole time he was thinking to himself, I'm not going back. They'll never take me back. Never, not going back. Women. That's the trouble with women.
Anything else?
And he snaps out of it. So then he takes a raft over to check it out, and that's where Jack swims under and sneak attacks him. And,
Jason style.
Much like Jason Voorhees.
What? Yeah.
Then he holds him underwater as the coward. Hugh, the coward, just looks on. Incapable of doing anything. Frozen with fear. This is the moment where Jack becomes the boss, Charlie.
It's just like Bloodstalkers.
Exactly like Bloodstalkers.
Did you think about that?
Tell me more. Oh, when Danny is frozen with fear?
Danny's frozen in fear. And he can't do anything in a crisis. It's just like Hugh. And there's that very dramatic face in a close-up, similar.
But you feel bad for Danny, though. You're sad for Danny. You're not sad for
no, that's true.
The boss, right?
Correct.
All right, now the convicts and the ladies make it to the bridge. It's funny, like, I don't know what kind of bridge I was thinking of, but like when I saw the bridge, I was just like it's like a highway overpass. Like it felt a lot less secluded at that point when I was like, like there were highway exits very close to them at all points.
It's not really like a landing.
At all points.
They're gonna get out and escape.
It was really, I was like, how are they going to get up onto the bridge? Like, I mean, I didn't spend a lot of time thinking about it because
yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I don't know what their plan is from there.
That I was like, well, whatever.
Yeah.
They would have had a plan of theirs to get to Canada. Doesn't seem like it's gonna work. But
all they had to do was one line where a guy was like, "My cousin Pete's gonna meet us at the bridge in the old pickup.
Yeah.
We hiding back with the chickens." You know,
right? It was very vague. Yeah.
They don't do that, so it just seems like, well, if 4 convicts in this denim get to the roadway up there all wet,
just sticking their thumbs out. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think anyone's gonna give you a ride to Canada.
So now the husbands it's time for them to get going, but Hugh, the boss, is like, I can't do it. He's so weak and cowardly. But Jack is like, I just killed a man. Let's go. And he pushes him into the raft. So now Shep approaches Kathy, says time for a little walk. And he and Kathy walk off, leaving Pat and Brenner alone. Brenner calls her over, and without any reluctance, I guess he kisses her, but I mean, she's all for it, right, guys?
Yeah, she like has a moment where she kind of like has second thoughts about sending Kathy off, and then he holds her back.
Yeah.
Brenner holds her back, and then he like turns to her and is like, "Hey, baby."
And she's like,
Right.
Yeah, well, hey.
Yeah, he says, "Don't worry about them. Just think about us."
Yes.
Something like that. Yeah.
Kathy puts up much more of a fight with Shep. She runs away, but he catches up. He's amused by her feistiness. He knocks her to the ground, saying it's no good if it's too easy. Then, Shep, what are you thinking? He drops the knife inches away from her and gets on top of her, giving her the perfect opportunity to stab him. And she does, because she's Kathy, and she's awesome. Let's hear it for Kathy,
Yes.
everybody.
Kathy is awesome.
Yeah.
We
He
all love
underestimated
Team
her.
Kathy.
Now, okay, so that by the time we get back to Brenner and Pat, they're tenderly kissing on the ground there. Like, has the deed been done? Is that what we're supposed to believe, or no?
I don't think so.
No.
It feels like
I
I
mean,
don't
they're
think it would've
fully
been
dressed.
enough
They're
time.
fully
a roaring
clothed.
fireplace. They're just sipping some wine and
But the,
getting in the mood.
They're
Great.
taking
the
this
way
slow.
they're seated, like it's a very tender, like
Yeah.
he's got her. He's like seated on the floor, and she's like in the cradle of his arms.
It's so
they're, like,
tender.
Very romantically framed.
Yep.
And that's the moment where her husband Jack comes to shore with the gun, and everyone's kind of like, oh,
Yeah.
Sarah.
hi, honey, and and Pat doesn't even know. She's like, wait, is he gonna shoot me or do I go over to him? And finally she does.
He's not happy about it.
She's
Well,
like,
it's
"Ah."
like I mean, he walks onto the scene, like they are kissing, and she gets up, and then she like slowly walks over to him. He doesn't move. He doesn't say anything. Then she like kind of curls into his arm, whimpers a little bit.
Tears.
Yeah, I guess one thing from her point of view, she's like, well, I always wanted like a rough, strong man, and you know what? Maybe Jack is that man. Look at him, the way he holds this gun and the way he's taking charge, and his boss is now afraid of him. I mean, she gets everything she wanted, and she gets to maintain her purity in the meantime. But it's only through luck in that her husband showed up. You know, if he had shown up 8 minutes later, it would have been too late.
And then we get the heroic Kathy.
Kathy
makes an
comes
appearance.
out.
It's sort of
Yeah.
like the hero's last entrance, and then fist pump from her husband.
Yes.
He's like,
Unbelievable.
yes,
It's the most awkward, like strange.
that's my
reaction.
Kathy. Did you just kill that convict back there in the bushes? Way to go.
Good,
son.
I don't have to. Great.
I
Way to
have
go,
wonder
kid.
what the direction was. Like, you know, like that's what I was thinking.
So great.
Like you see your wife. She's clearly been in some sort of tussle.
Yeah. Way to go, kid. Way to go.
And you react with a fist bump.
Oh,
yeah.
yeah.
It's like if a kid drew a walk in a little league game, you'd be like, "Good eye, Timmy."
Yeah.
Doesn't like that.
So, wow. That's Death Stalk for you. And
Okay.
let's
So
get.
that's the end.
That's the end. Ava's got some.
Oh, yeah.
She's
So-
she's deconstructed it.
I find that ending entirely unsatisfactory because, like, what the heck?
I
We
stayed
went through-
around. I thought there'd be
and-
more, and then when they show the
I-
shot of just the river, you know.
Yeah. I think everybody at home when it debuted was kind of like, "That's the end."
So many questions.
So I told Tom that I have an epilogue,
Let's hear it.
Ooh.
and the epilogue is that
It had some presupposing that you have to factor in.
okay, so the presupposing is that Jack and Kathy have had a little thing on the side.
Jack and Kathy.
So this is part of the hardship, and this is why there's some of the animosity between Pat and Kathy.
Wow.
And so what happens is, I'm assuming Brenner just gets back, either gets thrown into jail or Jack kills him. They go back off, but then Jack abandons his cheating wife for being like blatantly kissing in front of him.
Mm-hmm.
And then both him and Kathy have this shared trauma of having killed someone.
Yeah.
So they bond over that, and they end up riding off to the sunset, and useless Hugh is just useless.
He remains no. So you're
depression.
So you think Kathy and Jack had the affair before the movie?
I don't know if they had an affair, but there was like a connection there.
Okay. No, that's great stuff.
Hugh, too. Because Pat likes the alpha guys.
You think Pat and Hugh, they've done some couple swapping?
You know, it's the 70s. They had like those key parties. I don't know what happened.
I mean, that's a great point all the way around. I support it 100%.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Now, can we get some reviews? Ava, let's get your overall review of Death Stalk.
I mean, it is the lesser of the whitewater rafting movies that I have seen.
That's a good quote on the poster.
But actually, at the end of the day, and it's not a horror movie, but at the end of the day, it was actually enjoyable to watch. The interpersonal stuff that goes on between all the characters really sort of makes it enjoyable, as absurd as it gets. And while the ending was unsatisfactory, at least like we had a good time filling in the blanks. And I think that's one of the things as a whole for this movie is like, it's so economical because of obvious time constraints that you are actually given quite a lot of like throwaway lines that allow you to sort of like envision what all of that means, right? Like, so there's so many things that we've discussed, like, well, this character was doing, well, we must, you can sort of create this backstory for a character because you're not given it. And that always is kind of fun.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. That's a good point. Charlie, your review?
Yeah, I do agree. You have to use your brain a lot in this movie. Sometimes to figure out weird dialogue, sometimes to try to read into what they're saying. It's more nuanced, I guess, and maybe it's original. If they did a more of your standard Lifetime thriller like On the River, it would probably be a lot more clear cut. Or if there were more writers who said, no, you got to make this more clear and don't have this lead heroine be so conflicted. Just have her this way. It's unique in that way. And it gives us a lot of melodrama, a lot of nice tone changes. And I will say that it's memorable for us because we've talked about it a lot since we watched it in 2010. It's not a real horror movie, but it's also not something we forgot. So I give it credit for that, and I love the music. The music is awesome. I love the Scooby-Doo-ness of it and the really bombasticness of it. It softens everything and enhances everything. And there's a little bit of that unintentional Naked Gun stuff going on with these dramatic moments, weird lines, and that adds comedy.
Yeah, my thoughts are, I came out, when we wrote the book about it, by the time I wrote my review, all I remembered was the drama and those intense moments, especially between the two female characters, and I love that so much. Watching it this time through, there were moments where I was like, oh, okay, they're on the river again, okay, even at an hour 13 minutes, I was
really?
I was bored a few times, but then the moments would happen, and us talking about the moments now gets me totally riled up and pumped up about the greatness of that I'm already starting to forget the boredom. But I need to point out that this time around, even at an hour and 13 minutes, there were moments where I was like, oh, just start arguing about whether you should sleep with the convicts, So
the scenes on the river are really super, again, it's just this is why there aren't that many whitewater river rafting movies, because it's just a terrible location to film on.
Yeah, it's boring and loud too. Just, it seemed like there was a lot of dubbing involved, but when there wasn't, it was just you could hear so much nature in the background that it hurt my ears a little bit. So I just want to get that out there. But the thing is, with time and with people to discuss it with, you forget about that, and you're just so happy about these characters and the weirdness, and just, whether or not they should bury the kid is such a great moment. I mean, it really comes down to that, and then those conversations between Kathy and Pat that just bring it to such a high level that I forgive the repetitive rafting shots. So that's my thoughts. Tom?
Yeah, I mean, I agree with everything everyone said. I wish, like I said before, I wish the stakes were a little higher sometimes. Like, I wish there was something like one of the women got away and they had to chase her or something, or somebody was injured, or there was something a little bit more. I think we've all said at times you forget that they're even adversaries. It's just like a domestic drama on the water, which is fine. I love the drama. I love all that, and I wish actually there was a little bit longer so we could have more of those moments. But I think if it was gonna be longer, you'd have to have a bit more tension in those moments, because it, like Ava was saying, it's kind of, we know they're all gonna end up in the same place. We don't really think Brunner's gonna kill anybody. Like I feel like if there was a little bit more high stakes, even those moments of comedy and domestic strife would have been even more pronounced and enjoyable.
Yeah,
but overall, I mean, it's still memorable. Like Charlie said, you don't forget it.
Yeah, there's so many moments where the bad guys, it almost feels like they're like, all right, ladies, we're gonna get going now. Come on. Like they're like practically just like tour guides, with their friends. And I mean, and that's a moment that when you feel that way, you just start giggling just during random moments, like not like a specific happening, just when you take in everything that's going on and you're like, oh, this is so preposterous. I love it, so I love it. It's not quite the all-time great, but the made for TV is good for the quickness and the
outside. There's not too much night. It's mostly pretty bright.
That's huge. Yeah,
pretty location. Watching it in a movie marathon, it's short length and it's concise story is wonderful.
Yeah. So
not hard to pay attention to it. Yeah.
No.
Or even if you're not fully. I mean, the nice thing is, like, I'm a very distracted watcher of movies, to Tom's great regret. But like, you don't miss a lot on like when they're on the water. I'm like, oh, all right, well, I'm just gonna check Twitter or something.
Yeah, and that's fine. You miss nothing. Yeah, it's good. You get breaks. You get like scheduled breaks throughout the movie where you can. All right, now if they should have. Oh, that would be a good thing in movies. The blink happens, like nothing important's happening for the next minute.
Yeah.
So do what you got to do, and then we promise that in 60 seconds it's going to be exciting again.
Well, that's what they do in the room screenings when it's another romantic scene. People get up and leave, for that. Like, oh, Tommy is in the bedroom again, and go have a drink for a minute or two, or go walk, stretch your legs.
Yep.
All right. Any last thoughts, or we're all good here?
I gotta just say, I mean, because I usually recap this when we covered it in Shock October. Just quickly, it was nominated for Best Scene for that dialogue that you played, Farley, with Shepard. Oh God, look, it's a lot easier for you than for me. So that is nominated for Best Scene dialogue. Let's see. I don't think it won though. Let's see. What could possibly have beaten that out? Oh, Stepsisters.
No Jury in America?
Yeah, no jury.
All
so we chose so well.
Yeah,
but that's a tough thing to pick between.
Yeah. Yeah, well, there you have it, folks. That's Death Stalk, currently streaming on YouTube from 1974-75. for Tom, Ava, and
Happy Halloween too. Like, that's the main reason we're back on the horse here.
We're back
I'm sorry
here
to
for
interrupt, but
Halloween.
I forgot to say, and this is like my glory month to enjoy all this stuff.
That's why we're back. Who knows? We might do this again and before next Halloween. And February is coming up also.
Yeah.
We should get something more like on theme before February.
Okay, let's say we're gonna do another horror movie before February. Deal?
I'm in.
All
yeah,
right.
This was really fun.
It's gonna happen. I wouldn't mind doing House on Straw Hill.
Ooh, scandalous.
Yeah.
It is scandalous. We can do it. You've seen that.
I've seen it.
It's got elements of romance novels in it, right, Ava?
Yes, it does.
Yeah. Oh, we're gonna have a blast if we can find it. I don't know how
It's on
available
DVD.
that is.
It's on DVD.
Okay.
I have it on VHS.
All right,
Yeah.
folks. We'll probably do that movie. And until then, this is Farley saying goodnight on behalf of Tom, Ava, and Charlie.